Hello, Safehouse family.
What's going on, Safehouse? How you doing today?
We are back again.
We are back, yes. I wish you guys could see all the prep that goes into all the activity that happens before we go live is hilarious.
It is.
Andre's talking to the mic, look at the camera. I'm like, geez, there's a lot of stuff going on.
Well, you're so animated. You'd be like, well, I just wanted you be talking all into the air.
I know,
And you be,
sorry.
It's like you act like we're doing a live session. It's like, no, you got to look
That
at
is true.
Look at the camera.
It's a lot of gymnastics.
It is.
That goes into this thing.
The best metaphor, it's like a duck, right? You know, it's like one of those ducks you see swimming across the lake, right? It looks really calm and graceful and majestic up top, but underneath they're like,
I don't even know if my duck would look calm and graceful up top. My duck would still be like, ah! So I think I've gotten so much better than how we started.
You did.
But Andre has to remind me every week. I'm sure once he watches the video and he's like, yep, there she go again. Doing her own thing, not talking
to the
right.
Side, All right, Safehouse.
Right.
It's like, okay.
Right.
Okay.
So every week he has to remind me to talk into the mic and to look at the camera.
It's
so I'm going to try to do better this time.
Yes. I love you just the way you are.
I know you do.
It's
I'm
cool.
just saying. I'm just saying.
All right, y'all. We want you to like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell.
I'm not singing it. But I just love it when he says that.
She had to fight the urge. She was
did.
about to do some things.
I did.
So ring the bell. Ring the bell.
Yes.
So you can know when we're getting the content on.
Exactly.
When we post. Great responses from the first episode, first installment around trust. We're going to continue that this week. We had questions come in, and so we're going to try to address them in a stealthy-like way. We're not going to call any specific questions out. But we're going to deal with more issues of trust.
Yeah.
My earpiece keeps acting funny. I don't know what's going on. I had this problem last week when we were on. But
I think it wasn't necessarily a question, but I think one of the things that people really said, they like that we called it building trust. Because, it really is, So anytime you build, and then even once it's there, sometimes you got to renovate, sometimes you got to come back, take some stuff in, take some stuff out. So I think people really like that we said that it's building, that even in that process, every building isn't perfect, but you make it what it's supposed to be.
And it's a lifelong building process.
It absolutely is. Yes.
Like you mentioned, there's going to be some cases that require just a little bit of renovation, a little bit of tweaking. Maybe we do some things to the bathrooms. Maybe we do some things to the cabinets.
Absolutely.
Other times we need a gut rehab, right? The frame, the structure is still there, but we got to redo everything on the inside and remodel so that we can start with a fresh slate and start to build from a place where we remove old baggage, which is difficult.
That's what I was going to say. I think that's really difficult, but I think it's important for couples to know that it is possible to rebuild, because like you said, because trust is so fragile and it's such an important part of the relationship that they think when all the trust is gone, then that's just the end of the relationship, when really it can be reestablished again. So if there's somebody out there that's kind of going through that, just be encouraged. It takes a lot of work, but it can be rebuilt, and it can even be built better.
It can be.
And stronger.
It can be in the right context. Now, I'll never advocate toxicity, right? Abuse, things of that sort. So those types of relationships, I'm not going to be one of these Christians that say, you got to stay with your wife or your husband no matter what. If they beating you down, get out of there.
Yeah.
One preacher said, he said, I'll come over there with my pistol and get you out that house. A radical preacher. But, oh, man, this earpiece is getting on my nerves.
I'm glad it's him than me.
Yeah,
He's the duck today.
I am. I'm usually very, very precise.
Right. He is.
But having all these issues, this earpiece falling out, okay. We're going to keep going. The show must go on.
Yes.
Yeah, but once again, there's this component of it, too, where I also see that we're really quick to abandon relationships.
Absolutely.
Prematurely, right? It's like once that person does something that's in our keyword list, then we're ready to hit the eject button, whoosh, they down in the alligators, right? And so to me, the whole idea of unconditional love means that even when I don't like you right now, I still find a place to love you.
Yeah.
and that there's some part of me that even though our relationship is not in the place where it was, I'm committed to try a path to restoration. I'm open to the path of restoration. And, unfortunately, a lot of relationships just sort of, prematurely end because we're not willing to go down that path. Or, some folks, frankly, feel like they've tried enough.
Yeah, no, that is true. And so I think, like you said, even in those situations, you do have to make that decision. Okay, enough is enough.
Yeah.
But once again, it's kind of like what we said. Do we trust God? How much we trust ourselves and how much we trust others? Because like you said, it's, I was thinking about 1 Corinthians chapter 13, where it talks about love and says love keeps no record. And so when you're trying to rebuild trust, it's hard to throw out the record.
It is very hard to do.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. We're trained to keep records.
Yeah, we
right?
are. I got receipts.
We got receipts.
We got all kinds of stuff.
Our memories like elephants. We don't let stuff go. Right. And even when we forgive folks, we still got the checklist.
Absolutely.
And as that person is going on, we got the scorecard too.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like, okay, today you get an 86.
Right.
And it goes day to day. And some days you grading on the curve, and other days you got the extreme, you got a 3-point scale. You either get an F, a C, or an A.
Absolutely.
And yeah, it's a very many layers to the onion.
It is.
Because it is both a factual issue and an emotional issue. And both worlds coexist.
They do.
And, we're going to dig into it, and so just like with everything, trust has, to me, I'm going to coin this phrase. It hasn't been coined already. Trust has an economy.
Yeah.
Trust has equity. Trust has an economy. Trust, there's tools to build trust. There's tools to deplete trust. There's behaviors that accomplish both of those things. So we're going to dig a little bit into the economy of trust and how we can understand the economy better so that we can start to build trust with our forever person or potential forever person, or even as you're in the dating world starting to pursue the forever person, what does establishing a trust relationship look like with the person that you just met? And
I like what you're saying, that like you said, that it's, when you think about economics, you think about currency. And when you first start dating, both of y'all broke because y'all don't trust each other.
Right. There's nothing in either account.
There's nothing in either account.
Yeah.
So once again, everybody's kind of starting at zero. And so what it is you have to build into that account to get to different places of trust. So I think that's really important. I like that you said that it's currency.
Yeah, it is. It's built over time.
Yeah.
And it's built through consistency.
Absolutely.
Just like when it comes to saving, just like when it comes to investing. It's over time and it's consistent. Like I said in the last episode, when it comes to trust, it's not that we flicked a switch one day and the person we were with, we trusted them. What happened was over time, that person's behavior, they showed up in certain places. We may have had a crisis and they showed up. They said the right thing at the right time. They showed compassion at the right time. They extended grace when we didn't expect it. And all of a sudden we looked up and now we have a profound trust of this person. We now have a perception of this person, how they behave, even when I'm not around. You start to say things like, well, that's just not in this person's character, right?
Correct.
I wouldn't believe that they would do something like that. I don't know, hey, I can't put anything past any individual, but, that's not behavior that I've seen before out of that person. Wouldn't you agree?
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm laughing at myself because there are like a couple of areas that Andre just doesn't trust me in. Okay. And so when we're talking about trust and we're talking about like consistent behavior, I am very consistent in these two behaviors. So he definitely doesn't trust me. So one of the behaviors is my phone. So I always have my phone on vibrate or it's just on silent.
Right.
And so he never trusts me to have my phone on. So if something happens, he's like, okay, she is not going to respond. Like today, like I said, he needed a ride home. He called my phone. Guess what happened? I didn't pick up. He had to call my daughter, our daughter. So she came in the room, was like, Mom, Dad needs a ride. I was like, oh, yeah, I probably should have turned my phone on. Yeah. But I'm sure you didn't have that expectation that I was going to pick up unless I literally had my phone in my hand.
Yeah. There's a little part of me that always hopes you would pick up, but I'm not surprised
right. He doesn't
when you
that
don't. Right. There's a little glimmer of maybe this time she'll be there,
Right.
but
and that doesn't make or break our relationship.
No.
I just want to be able to say how sometimes that's just how it works in relationships. So the other funny story about not trusting, I think we were out of town like a couple of months ago. And so Andre was getting dressed. And so he said, he needed to iron something. And I said, I said, you want me to iron your clothes? He said, he looked at me like, are you crazy? You know you don't iron. I was like, I can iron. He was like, no, ma'am. We've been married for 30 years, okay? I've never ironed anything for this man. So once again, that's it. He's like, I'm not trusting you. I didn't bring no extra clothes. And you are not touching anything that I have to wear. He was like, no, ma'am. And for a minute there, my little feelings was hurt. I was like, I do know how to iron, but he was like, no. And I asked you, remember? I said, what? You don't trust me to iron your clothes? And he looked at me like, no, I don't trust you to iron your clothes. So once again, it doesn't make or break our relationship.
No, it doesn't.
But it was just funny because once again, trust really is built on your either your good, positive, consistent behavior or your negative, consistent behavior. And so once again, you know, that's just a part of the relationship.
It is. And I'm sure you have areas like that with me, right? We all have them. And it's one of these things where you realize, just like an account or your credit rating,
right.
your trust rating is always being evaluated, whether you intend to or not.
Right.
That other person is looking at your behavior and they're watching what you're doing intentionally or not intentionally, right? They're seeing you. It's just like, okay, I just watched this person tell this person a big old lie. I wonder if they tell me one.
Exactly.
If I'm and so now you've got trust taken out of your account because you've just given this person the impression, okay, when they're under pressure, they'll lie.
Exactly.
Right? So what makes me different?
Yeah. Like, I don't trust Andre to go to the store.
No,
he never looks at prices.
I do not.
I'm like, send him to the store for some salt that should be like 50 cents. And he's like, bought the most expensive salt in the store for like $5. I'm like, dude.
It was there. It's the Morton salt. Form follows function. I'm an engineer, right? I'm going to fulfill the need, solve the purpose, and check it off my list, right?
So, yeah, he is not, like I said, I got to be like so down, out, and out that I can't go to the store before I ask his brother to go shopping.
I'm not the most economic. Yeah, I'm not the most economic shopper at all. That is not my grace.
Don't trust him to do it.
I am going to do what it takes to meet the need. Okay, that salt costs $10. Okay, I have no context of what's right for a salt price, right? So I don't coupon clip. I don't price compare. I don't do any of that. I grab it off the shelf and I put it in the cart. So you have a right to not trust me there.
Yes.
Because I'm going to default to that behavior.
You are. Once again, that's what I just described is the definition of trust economics.
Yeah. That's trust economics in action. So now, let's step back for a second and think about this. So our behaviors, when we look back, and once again, over time, because some of us has been together for a short time, others of us have been together for a long time. And I know there are times in life when I wake up and I turn over a new leaf, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to do this today. I'm going to diet, or I'm going to do so-and-so. I'm going to do whatever, right? Turn over this new leaf. And what we then expect our significant other, our forever person we're dating, is all of a sudden to get on board with that. And intellectually, they are on board with that, right? But you've got a World Book encyclopedia full of history of how you've behaved that says that you're going to do something different. Or it may even be that they have a World Book encyclopedia full of new initiatives that you start and never finish. So they may be in the mode of waiting for this one to peter out, just like every other one. And so part of that economy is like, wow, I've built up this perception of I don't finish things, right?
Yeah.
So what do I expect when I come up with a new idea for my spouse to think or my significant other to think when I behave this way? I'm going to behave the same, right? Who was it that said past behavior is the greatest predictor of future performance?
Yeah.
I don't necessarily believe that. I don't know who said that. I know somebody said that. I don't necessarily agree with all of that because I believe we can change, we can grow, we can evolve. But once again, we've laid this tapestry, laid this foundation of behavior now that this other person has watched over the years. And, now we expect them to turn over the leaf when we turn over the leaf. And like, no. You've got an account that you've built up over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'll edit this out because we look lost.
We're not lost. That's
Okay.
what I love about it. I'm like, I just want to make sure you were done because
Oh.
once again, I was just agreeing with you about, like you said, it really is based on, like you said, I was thinking about our accountant. And so, like I said, so he always tells us to save all of our stuff. It's like for 10 years,
Yeah.
And then after 10 years, you can shred it. And I don't know how long we're supposed to hold on to stuff, like if the Bible says we don't keep a record. But like I said, that kind of goes back to what I said about renovation. When you're renovating, you got to take out some of the old stuff to make room for the new stuff. And to me, that's the same thing about trust. Let me iron your shirt, man.
You can iron my shirt. I'll let you iron my shirt.
I can do it.
Just pick up the phone.
Right.
If you pick up the phone, I'll let you iron my shirt.
Right. I gotta build it up once again. He'd probably have more luck of me like ironing the shirt than me like turning on my phone.
Look, I've just resolved myself that if I get into a desperate situation and I need to call somebody, I'm either going to call my daughter or I'm just going to go ahead on and die and let the insurance take care of everything else.
Oh my God. I probably need to do better.
No, it's cool. I understand.
Right.
That's you're a prayer warrior. You're not going to be the emergency first responder when I call on. So I'm cool with that.
It's all good. So now we're talking about positive trust equity.
Positive trust equity. These are the deposits we make into the account.
Yeah.
And the good thing about positive trust equity, why do we want to build up positive trust equity? So it's kind of like, think about equity in your home. Mm-hmm. When you own your home, it appreciates in value. And eventually, if you're in a good neighborhood.
See, now Andre done made my
your headsets done fell out. We got to get new equipment.
This is going to be one of those episodes where it's like...
Now she about to put in the wrong ear. Here we go.
So now y'all see my duck behavior.
Here we go.
Oh, my God. Oh, Lord. See, this is what I look like before the camera comes on. Like, Andre has to, tell me I'm putting it in the wrong ear and all this other kind of stuff.
All right. We're going to keep all the mistakes in here. Y'all this is raw, uncut Safehouse.
Okay. Now my hair is messed up. I'm like, oh, God, I can't tell which side of my hair. I can't tell. But we're just going to keep it going.
Right. Equity.
Yes.
All right. So
this is the funniest episode ever.
This is the most awkward too.
It's like really bothering Andre because he likes for everything to be perfect. I'm like, whatever, dude. Let's just keep it going.
Let's just roll with it. So what was the analogy I was starting down the road with? We don't even know, right? So we forgot. This is one big blooper reel here. That's what it is.
We were talking about positive trust equity.
Right. So like with your house.
Yes,
right?
there we go.
There we go. We back on track.
Back on track. Okay.
All right. So like when you purchase your house and you purchase it for a price, eventually over time, if you're in the right kind of area, the value of that house will start to exceed whatever you have in terms of what you paid and what the mortgage is, right? So that's equity. Right. And that equity can do a couple things. One, it can be leveraged to be used if you need to use it to do improvements to the house, or it's actual profit that you get should you sell the house, right? But it's those things help to cover other things. And the same thing happens with our trust economics. So if we invest in building up trust in our forever person, what then happens is we get extended grace when we're not perfect. Right? Yeah. That's one of the great benefits, right? They extend us grace when we're not perfect. We're able to lean into that equity and say, well, this behavior is not my normal behavior. Yeah. Right. So extend me grace and just know that I won't do it again. Right. Or it even extends other things in a sense that, okay, because we build up trust equity, now that other person will choose to do things because they're like, wow, he's such a great this, or he's such a great that, or man, he always thinks about this. So let me respond in kind, so that's a place where that equity both covers, offenses, and it also creates benefits because we've invested. A lot of times we don't view that as an investment. If we just review our relationship as transactional, then we only do things, as necessary. But if we start to take an investment mindset on, then we do things in anticipation of a future return and future growth.
I like that you said that because, like you said, it's, you realize that trust isn't all or nothing.
Right.
Because sometimes that's how we look at it. Like, okay, if I don't trust you in this area, I can't trust you. Because I've heard people say that. Well, if I can't trust you here, then I can't trust you no place. And it's like, well, no, that's not true. Because once again, you see I'm pretty good over here. Okay. So just because I'm not performing well over here doesn't mean that, that now you can't trust me in anything. So that, like I said, I think that's a good way to think about how we don't throw everybody, how we don't throw people away, that we almost, like you said, give them credit for where they are good, so that way when they mess up in another place, you can extend grace. You can say, okay, like you said, it's my wife never picks up the phone. So, but you know what? She's great at other things. So once again, I know that if I needed to reach her, I know how I could make that. I can make that happen. But like you said, I'm not going to throw her away. Right. I'm still going to call her. I'll put it like that. Right.
And we wonder, and this is the sort of intersection between the sort of intellectual honesty and the emotionality component of it, because once again, what is it about us that causes us to throw a person away from one negative act, right? There's something in us that says, once we can't trust you one place, we can't trust you no place, right?
Yeah.
Has something happened to us to put us into that place? Have we seen behavior to put us into that place? Is there something bigger going on that's put us in that place? Because maybe it's not this particular act that put me into this place, but just, there's an air of untrustworthiness here, right? But
even what you said, like you said, that's where the intellect and the emotion intersect. Because if I'm offended, my first place is emotion. I'm not even thinking about it from an objective space. I'm all emotional about whatever has occurred has now offended me. It's disappointed me. It's made me angry. It's done something to me. And so now, like you said, now how do I figure out how to step back from that objectively? So that way I can make sure that all the positive equity that's in there can cover that offense. But like you said, you can only do that objectively, though. You can't, it's hard to do that emotionally.
It is. And I think that even when you can't be objective in those places, this is why we always come back to sort of objectivity and intellectual honesty. Just be objective about the fact that you're in an emotional place, right?
Absolutely.
If you can make that call, that helps to solve, I wouldn't say solve, it actually helps to alleviate a lot of further damage and consequence.
Absolutely.
I'm in an emotional state right now. I am not able to process this with the lens by which it's coming through. I'm processing it. So maybe it's best we not have this conversation, this interaction at this time. We're going to get into this when we get into negative trust equity. Sometimes we have to recognize that even in the event of offense, right, there's times that there's a restoration process. Forgiveness is immediate, but restoration is not always immediate, right? I can forgive you for something. And so understanding, having that intellectual honesty about an emotional place, it's like, wait, I've forgiven you, right? The Bible calls us to forgive. I've forgiven you. I want to be on the path to restoration, but there's some emotional damage that we have to endure. There's some consequence that we have to go through. And trust me, this is for your Bible thumpers out there. It is very biblical to understand that while there is forgiveness, there is still consequence, whether intended or unintended,
Absolutely.
right? Forgiveness does not always remove consequence. There's cases where forgiveness and grace or mercy will remove confidence, but forgiveness in and of itself doesn't always remove confidence. And so consequence. And so as a result of that, us understanding intellectually where we are in an emotional place to say, wait, I'm committed to getting restored, but emotionally, I can't extend that level of access to you today.
Right.
Doesn't mean that tomorrow we don't want to get there. As a matter of fact, because I love you, I want to get back there.
Yeah.
But today, while the broken bone is healing, I have to put a cast around it and protect it until it's ready to be walked on. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah, it absolutely makes sense. I was going to say anything that has to be restored takes time. Like I said, but because we're in a microwave society now, we want everything quick, and if it doesn't happen quick enough for us, that restoration process or that renovation process, now we're like, okay, well, just forget it. It's not going to work. We're going to get a divorce. We're going to break up. We're going to do whatever, because once again, renovation, restoration, whatever word you want to use, it takes time and it takes commitment. Like I said, when we were renovating, our house, I mean, that took some time.
It took some time.
Everything's tore up. It's looking a mess. You can't invite nobody over. And so you're like, okay.
It disrupts the workflow.
It absolutely
You got to
does.
find alternative ways to do things that you used to do. You don't have access to the area that's being renovated. And even after it's done, there's sort of smells and things and stuff before it gets, sort of incorporated into the regular workflow. So things are not normal. The restoration process takes time.
And that's how it is when you're building trust.
Yeah.
Whether it's positive or, like you said, even like the negative. To me, it's always harder to overcome negative trust equity.
Yeah.
But it's possible. When I think about negative trust equity, I think about the stock market.
Yeah.
And so how like when they say, oh, it's down, and you like, and so your first, you have to literally stop yourself to not want to run and take your money out.
Right.
But I remember like even with your 401k, like when it tanked, it was like, dang, you looked at your money and you was like, okay, there's no money in here. I mean, literally, that is literally what happened.
Right.
But you didn't even take the money that was left out.
Right.
You were like, that's just the
just
nature
the course of things. You
of being in the stock market. And then it bounced back.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing too with negative trust equity. Like you said, when your offenses, like you said, outweigh your positive actions. And so once again, that's that second chance. That's you changing. That's you saying, okay, I'm gonna be different. And like you said, and then over time, you're consistently in the positive.
Yeah. And so for folks out here, maybe it's time for you to take inventory, because I'm sure you've built up some positive trust equity. The unfortunate thing is that it's not parity here. There's not one for one. Every positive thing you do a negative thing, you can do a negative. It's more like you can do 10 positive things and one negative thing will erase all 10 of those. It's unfortunate, but that's the subjective and emotional part about it, right?
Yeah.
You have certain individuals. I believe you're graced with a very forgiving spirit. So it takes a lot for you to say enough's enough, right?
It does.
But for a lot of individuals, we take to offense very quickly, or we look at acts negatively quickly. And so this whole idea of taking inventory of, okay, what of my behaviors have created negative trust equity? How do I stop that? One, how do I start to build positive equity? And then how do I start to intellectually recognize, wait a minute, I've got a negative balance here. I've got years of behavior where I behaved a certain way, and I may have weeks or months where I'm thinking in a new way. It doesn't make it bad. Yes, absolutely go down the path. But, if you're on a weight loss journey, deciding to lose weight that day doesn't mean you become skinny that day, right? You have to...
I wish that was the case.
Right. You have to undo years of bad eating habits. You have to now over-exercise, over-exert yourself to burn things off. You have to eat less so that you have less calories in your body. You have to do all of these things.
There's a lot of factors
to unravel years of behavior, right? But we want, because we've sort of emotionally attached forgiveness to instant restoration, and God can instantly restore anybody. That's God's power, right? But once again, when it comes to these negative acts, it does not mean that there's not consequences that have to be dealt with. And so, when we look at negative trust equity, let's start to take some inventory. Where have we built it up? How can we start to undo it? Not necessarily look at the negative trust equity that's been built up with us, because we do have it, right? But really, let's focus on ourselves and say, what are we doing to either create positive trust equity, and then what are we doing to undo any negative trust equity that we've built up?
Because I was going to say, too, when you're dating, that negative trust equity, I feel like you have to talk about it more. Because so like when you see the person doing something, you can't wait to have those types of conversations. Like if you see somebody like constantly late, you're like, okay, well, I kind of like being on time. And every time we go out, you're like 30 minutes late. That's a problem for me, And so once again, and if the person says, well, you know what, I'm just always late.
Right. I have a time.
I have a time management issue. I do. And so once again, now that's your opportunity to say, okay, So if I know you have a time management issue and you say we going out at 7, I'm gonna make the reservation for 7:30.
Yeah,
that's just me.
Right.
Because now that we've had that discussion, now I'm not going to be offended by the fact that you always show up late. Because at first I'm offended because I'm like, dude, we're supposed to be leaving at 7. I made a reservation and now we late and and now we're not doing what we're supposed to do. But now that we've talked about it, we can kind of nip it in the bud very quickly.
Yeah, and what's really funny is, in situations like that, we can call that situation out specifically. Usually, there's not any negative or ill will for the person that's always late.
Right.
Generally, what I find with people that are always late, they're trying to accommodate everybody. They're usually trying to accommodate everything, trying to fit everything in, try to show up at every place, try to hang out for any place the maximum amount of time. A lot of times they're extroverts and social, and they enjoy social interaction. And so what happens is late is a consequence of them trying to extend themselves versus just them being slothful. I'm just not going to show up. So then now, for this person that has this intellectual honesty, says, man, I'm a social butterfly. I like to shut the party down. I try to fit stuff in. We only got an hour, but we can stop here, and here. All it takes is one feather or one traffic incident to slow the whole train down. And now I've made everybody late.
Yeah. Right.
And so now you have to step back and say, okay, am I building equity by not recognizing that about myself?
Yeah.
It's like, wait, I just can't try to fit it in. I know we got 2 hours, but we can't try to fit it in. They're usually very optimistic people. It's the great people to be around. It's like, okay, we can do everything, right? We can do it all. We can make it happen. And it's a good quality. But once again, now what you're doing is you're building up this negative trust equity, because now it's like, yeah, they can make it happen, but they're going to be late to everything. They're going to make you late for everything.
Right. Yeah. So once again, like I said, those are the types of things, like you said, you do have. But I like what you just did. You kind of stepped back, got out of your emotions, and looked at it objectively.
Yeah.
I think if you guys can't, if you don't come away with anything else, it's like you said, when you're building equity, whether it's positive or negative, like you said, it's the intersection between the intellectual and the emotion. But what you can't do is let the emotion rule it.
Right. And you can't be so intellectual that there's no feeling attached,
Absolutely.
Right? Because no feeling attached means that I've disconnected our relationship, right? Because there's an emotional connection between us, right? It's like, wait, no matter what's going on, I love this woman, right? So there's got to be a resolution. There's got to be something towards it. So I'm going to pull towards.
Right. Because I was going to say, it's the emotion that keeps us in.
Yeah.
That says, hey, you know what? I want us to rebuild. I want us to renovate, because I do love you. And all of that is emotion. So like you said, you do have to have both when you're, as you're building the trust economics.
So with that, we want to ask you all, when it comes to trust economics, what are you doing to build your trust equity? We talk about it in the context of boosters and busters.
Yeah.
So what are things you're doing to boost your trust equity? And then what are behaviors that you need to deal with to sort of bust the negative trust equity building behaviors, right? Feel free to comment below the video. Feel free to reach out to us on any of the platforms. As you know, we're not only on YouTube, we're also on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube Music as a podcast. So if you don't want to see our lovely faces, you can listen to it in the car while you're on your way somewhere. So
we hope I hope they learn something.
Yeah, I hope you learn.
Other than, that I don't iron. Obviously, I use that downy wrinkle stuff. He's like, no, you are not using that on my
Niagara starch, baby. That's the only way I roll, right? I'm a 70s baby from the Inglewood, from Inglewood, right?
So you guys probably learned a little bit more about me. And why my husband doesn't trust me in some places. But it's okay.
It's all good.
We're still laughing and smiling, and we love each other.
All right. Remember to like, share, subscribe, ring the bell.
Do. And we're looking forward to reading your comments. Like I said, even when you're thinking about that question, think about, like you said, remember we talked about, trusting God, trusting yourself and trusting others. How are you boosting that in those areas? What are barriers for you? And how are you boosting that? Like I said, not just when you think about the person you're with, but think about that for yourself.
Yeah.
Too.
Yeah. Well, that's it, Safehouse.
That's it.
That's it for this one. We're going to put this one in the books. We love you all. Thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
And with that, we say peace. Love y'all.